my colleague and dear friend, Professor Anand Prakash, will be back very soon. All my colleagues from this school and from other school and friends. Great pleasure to be here this afternoon. I feel a bit embarrassed when I come to the management institute. Let me admit it. The reason is that I have never worked with any organization which you call business organization. And therefore, you do not understand the dynamics. I can see the kind of discussion that has been going on with you and the learned speaker, Professor Anand Prakash. He is a master person, master trainer and interaction and good. But on the other hand, when Dr. Sanjay Saxena told me that it is going to be about what we call pedagogical innovations, and that will professional education, then I thought I might share some of the things. As Dr. Meenakshi Singh said, that I am interested in culture. And pedagogy is a part of culture. There is just not one pedagogy that you can use, you can practice without culture. It varies depending upon who is your client and who is the person who is involved in this process of injection. So this gave me little courage, and I thought that I would share some of things. What I plan to do in this for an half hour, I will give you more time for discussion because I could see many of you wanted to ask the questions about the past, but probably they did not remember. So I would like to learn from you because sometimes these questions are much more important than what we present. I have worked with children in all sorts of circumstances, starting from hunting and gathering society and so-called Jharkhand today, when I studied it was Bihar, working with the students and teachers, working with many other schools in rural and urban settings, working with traditional and modern schools. I have developed some understanding out of my own research about what goes on and how it goes on. So what I want to do is I will start with the school education, just to create a background. Then I will move on to the functions of education in human society. Because we think that it has got a function and it must play an effective role in our life, and that is why we feel concerned about pedagogical innovations. Then I will move on to some concerns of pedagogy. Then possibly talk about classroom pedagogy. Because when you are a teacher, neither you nor the students can be out all the time. Okay? In a classroom, there has to be taught, there has to be dealt with nicely. You are raising problems for the students in the classroom, not outside the classroom. So I will talk about some of those issues. Then I will come back to another issue, which I will have the issue of language. What role this language plays in the classroom. And how, since most of our interaction is based on language, then probably I would like also to share some ideas how to make classroom interaction better. I am not very cultural. Let me admit, as Anand said. Okay, so I will be moving slowly, but hopefully I will be able to convey I have in my mind. Let me also share with you one thing. English is by-part language. I was talking to Professor Sir and told like I started with the Sanskrit school to become a Pandey. At a very late stage in childhood, I was sent to a school which is called general school. And I started learning alphabets of English language when I was in grade 9. So this is my third language. After Madras, Sanskrit was my first language. Standard Hindi became my second language because I used to speak Urdu. And English is my third language. So if there are any confusions in your mind that language becomes a bar, I think you should remember. Okay? It's not a bar. Provided you have a wish to learn. Okay? I think you can create a spirit in your students that they can also learn. I do it in my classroom. I tell to my students that if I can speak, why can't you? Okay? Because they have learned it in a very short stage in school. So these things will come up in discussion. Let's move on to the second one. Now, can you move on the second slide? Okay. Now, pedagogy comes in when we talk about some kind of a teaching learning process. And as a cross-cultural psychologist, I know that this is common to all species. Even cats and dogs, they learn something and their parents and sometimes their other friends teach them something. But in the case of human beings, it takes on a different platform. It becomes a more formal. When you have a teacher and you have a learner, and teachers have a responsibility to teach you and learners have a responsibility to learn something, okay? And learn something which may be needed for your life, but also learn something that will be completely useless for your life. I learned so many things during the years of education which are useless for me. Okay? But because they were part of the course curriculum, I had to learn, I was examined, I was evaluated, okay, I had to obtain a degree. So it becomes a uniquely human pursuit when you come to kind of formal education, that is a kind of classroom education. Now once you get into formality, then you need to have formal organizations, okay? And we have so many formal organizations in this country, everywhere in the world you find that. And therefore this learning takes place in a formal setting. It's not the learning in your home. Okay, it's not learning with your friends, but it is in a formal setting. And they have clearly laid down rules for this kind of setting, okay? And you have to follow this formal setting in this school. Whether it's management school, whether it's a primary school, or it's another single university, okay? School means everything, but this formal learning takes place. Why do we want to educate children? If you look at various arguments that are made in favor of education, then one strong argument is that through this process of education, we become human beings. If you do not bring in formal process of education, it comes through only your parents or other people who know about it, then it is more like pursuit of an animal. Even insects. Chimpanzees taught their children how to crack nuts, and how to make livings, how to hunt. I see cats in my house teaching their little learns to hunt, how to catch a mouse. So if you do not put your child in a school, do not put him or her into the system of schooling, then probably the child remains more like any other thing. So if you want to become human, you have to go into this system. Next one. Now, that's one thing that education does. But over the years, there have been many more concerns about education because we not only want to popularize it, but we also want to universalize it. And you know that in this country there is a philosophy, even a policy of universal education. No child should escape home. Okay. If you are holding your child home, then you are a culprit. Okay. So when you go to a school, what happens in the school? You know that there is a set of knowledge that gets transferred to you, either through your teachers or through your peers or through somebody else who has that knowledge. There are a variety of skills that are transferred to you in the school system. You learn computing skills, you learn developing programs, software in the school. And there are a variety of other social heritages. Okay? They are made available to you in this school. For example, I read a lot of history of India and also the world when I was in school. I learned a lot of philosophical traditions when I was in school. I learned a lot of Vedas, when I was in school. And this Panchatantram was a part of my course curriculum in the Sanskrit school. Hitopadesh was a part of my curriculum in the Sanskrit school. So texts that you know about or probably you have not read them thoroughly, so they are here. So this is one function of a school, and because we think that these are very valuable things of us, they are given to us, they are transmitted to us, transferred to us in this world. Is that all? Well, that's not enough. There are a number of values that you acquire in school. I will not go into the conflict of what is tradition and what is modernity, but one argument in favor of schooling was that it makes you modern, it makes you more progressive, it makes you more open to experiences, okay? And it makes you less traditional, it makes you more critical. Okay? And these are the values that are required for an egalitarian society. So if you want to develop a civil society, okay, you have to get into this process of schooling. Okay? On the other hand, if you want to stay with your traditions, okay, if you want to create a civil society, okay, then there are other schools where only religion and jihad is taught. Put children there. There are a lot of children. And a lot of debates going on around whether these traditional forms of schooling should be supported or should not be supported. In Varanasi, we have both kinds of schools. There are many Sanskrit schools. There are many madrasas, and there are many modern kinds of schools. The question is whether it is the same kind of development of child that is taking place in different kinds of schools, or is it we are creating different kinds of society, different kinds of children in these different kinds of schools? Okay, so new ways of thinking, they come up when you go to a school, okay, and Professor Anand Prakash was talking about development of personality. It's a very big thing, okay? Develop personality. That's a big issue for this personality, and what develops in your personality. When we say that you have developed the personality, I think the whole lecture is required on that, but I hope you have some notion of what personality is and what are the dimensions of its development. Okay? One dimension that is important, as long as you are concerned to your self-development, only concerned to yourself, okay? This is not the sign of development of your personality. Concern with others is the sign of development. just concerned about your promotion, about your achievements, and so on and so forth. Okay? You become very selfish, and being selfish is not a sign of personality development. So what a school does at the end is that it transforms you. Professor Anand Prakash was talking about transformation. It brings in a complete transformation in you what you are. And at some level now they are talking about it allows you, it provides you an opportunity in which you can achieve what is called self-actualization. Okay? Whatever is yourself, you can put yourself to the best use, and that is what the school provides. Okay? Whether it's a higher secondary school or it is a professional institution like SMS, I think all these concerns are there. In 2006, when we moved to Varanasi, I had an opportunity to participate in a meeting in Geneva, organized by the International Bureau of Education. There were scholars from almost 46 countries. I was representing India. 5 days of discussion about education. Why are we so concerned about education? And let me tell you that even if you are not concerned, there are many others outside your country who feel concerned about education in India. You know World Bank? All money for primary education comes from World Bank. That is why we are not charging any fee in so-called government schools. How much money we are charging at Varanasi University and the students' tuition? Can you imagine? A master's student pays about 3,000 maximum for the whole year. And a single professor is paid more than 1,025 per month. So money is coming from somewhere. So there was a lot of debate about education in that meeting. And we felt that because education was fulfilling 4 broad functions, okay? It should be supported internationally and it should be allowed to continue every effective way. Now these functions are already listed here in the slide. Personally and socially meaningful activity. So it is an activity that is meaningful to you personally and that is also meaningful to the society. Again, it's a powerful means of change in the individual's personality. So through education, there is a transformation in your personality, and there is no other powerful way to bring in that transformation as education can do. It is also a strong basis of moral functioning. Okay? They have to think about it because this is a big issue. Morality. And what happens? Even a child is moral, but the kind of morality a child has is not the same kind of morality that he has. Okay? In the early childhood, there is no morality. Okay? It's need-based. If you are hungry, you must eat. Then it becomes conventional morality. What others do is morality. But when you go to a school, a third kind of morality gets in, that is called principled morality. Now you have developed reasoning, and you have to think what is moral and what is immoral. It's a big issue. But it has been found that it also promotes morality in individuals, and we need a moral society. That is the basis of a civil society, and therefore, schooling has to be continued, has to be supported internationally. And what is most important is to think about societal development or national development, and you try to find out one single important factor that can predict the development of societies and nations, then this factor is education. Okay? I am not making a distinction between academic education and technical or professional education, whatever it is, but it is education. But then when my colleague John Berry visited me once upon a time here, we were working together, he brought a little superior to me. And this souvenir was a little piece on which something like this was written. Never let the school interfere with your education. Okay? And it gave me some clues to thinking whether schooling and education are the same thing. They also had a third concept called literacy. There is a whole literacy program going on in this country, about literacy and so on. Whether literacy, schooling, and education, they are the same thing. Okay? We have to think about them. Whether schooling is leading to education, or whether it is interfering with our education. Okay, this is another question that we have to think about. Okay, when you look at so much of corruption in this world, then the question is that it is rising every day. Education is rising every day. Okay, and it's highly educated people who are involved in all kinds of things. Then you have to question. So sometimes they may go hand in hand, but in some cases they may not go hand in hand. That's another. Now, what happens in a school? Schools are involved basically in the process of teaching and learning. Basically, they are the agents of teaching and learning. Okay? So they draw some teachers, they select, and they also admit some students, they put them together. And then a process starts between them in the classroom, either in this one or in the other one, depending on what you are studying. Okay? So this is the function of the school, to bring in two kinds of people together. One is an expert and another is a novice learner. Okay? So that's not much about it. Now if you look at what happens in the school, then you find a lot of research on it to suggest that teaching and learning, they are highly correlated. Teaching and learning, they are highly correlated, and not only that, because the teacher and learner, they are also highly correlated. Okay? So you can think of a kind of relationship between the two. The relation is that if the teacher is effective, the learning is effective, okay, and the teaching is effective, the learning is also effective. Now, if you look into this process of teaching and learning and try to think, where should I put the responsibility? Somebody asked Anand Prakash, and he said, I am not talking about the students. I am talking about teachers. I am also not talking about the students. Okay? I am talking about teachers. So the major responsibility of what happens in the school, okay, to you as well as to your students. As he said, it's very right that when something takes place, okay, it not only changes you, it not only makes you feel better, it also makes me feel better. If you do well, I do well. Remember this. If you are placed in a nice company, I raise my colors because we are highly correlated. So the major challenge and responsibility was to teacher. I was involved in some program, again international programs, in which we were trying to teach so-called tribal children, not teeny children, they were adolescents, trying to prepare them for higher education. Okay? And you could see the disparity between the two. This is not a common experience. In my case, this is a very, very common experience even in any developed country, like in the United States, like in Canada. I remember my experiences with Eskimos, so-called professional institutions being introduced in the Eskimo community. And something that came up there was that teachers had their own preferred way of teaching students. Okay? which do not work. Students have their own preferred way of learning which you don't know, or you know and you don't use it. So the idea is that if I do not learn the way you teach, okay, there are students, I think they were talking about them. So in the same classroom there are some who are benefited quite a lot, there are many others who are not deriving any benefit out of your teaching. Okay? Now you can play the victim. The problem lies with the student, but probably it's not. Okay? Now here is a point for asking to yourself. And the point is, can you teach me the way I learn? Can you find out the ways in which the students can learn? And I am sure if you find out the ways, the student will learn. Okay? So there is no standard teaching practice that can be recommended, okay, and that can be claimed to work with all kinds of learners. Okay? And therefore not many innovations in this area as well. I am not going to draw your attention to those innovations because I hope Professor Anand Prakash has already done it. Okay, participatory teaching and peer group learning and okay, all kinds of experiential learning things and individualized teaching and so on. I am not going to talk about it. Those things are there. I also feel that they are much more like ideals. I have taught in Varanasi University for almost 40 years. And I cannot enjoy the freedom of giving my class to any student, even today. There was a time when research students could be given, but today we cannot. Unless the student is in what we call UPC. I cannot. So where is the question of involving the youngest student? Where is the question of involving here? So most of the time what happens in my classroom is that I am on this side, you are on the other side, and the dialogue has to be between me and you as a group. Okay? It could be informal, no doubt. It could be something other than a lecture, which is always one way. It could be a kind of dialogue between both of us. And depending upon the time available, we can continue with that dialogue. But let me tell you again, whenever I try to practice this, I could never go beyond the first topic. Within 3 months, we have to finish the whole course. I could not. So these things come as ideals, okay? But when you sometimes try to translate them into practice, okay, you find that there are many, many difficulties. And therefore, in order to practice them, I think we have to change the policies of the institutions, which I find, with reference to group, at least I find completely incapable. On the other hand, of course, there are things which are clearly established in research, and those things we know very well. One thing that has been established very clearly in educational research is that teaching depends on what and how the teacher has learned. What you have learned, okay, you are going to teach. And you are also going to follow the practice that you followed when you were learning. Many times I find this happening in the classroom. Okay? So in order to teach a student what is most current, okay, you have to be learner every day. You have to study and you have to find things which you did not know. It is not surprising to find teachers in the university teaching from their very, very old notes. Even today, it's not surprising. And if you ask, what are you doing this? Then they said, what is the change in Akbar and Babur since the time I studied? It's very, very old history. My pages are good enough. So there are certain disciplines where changes are fast. The knowledge is created, but there are certain disciplines where probably the knowledge is not that fast. Maybe some interpretations will change after some time, but it's very, very slow. So you find a lot of difference in what goes on in different classrooms. On the other hand, there is also a lot of research that shows the dependence of your student on you, and it comes in the form of the learning of this. So what the student is going to learn depends on what you teach and how the teacher teaches. And now it has come to this level that one of my students may come, approach me and say, can you give me this PowerPoint? मैं इसी से पढ़ लूँगा। इम्तिहान पास होने के लिए इससे ज़्यादा जरूरत नहीं, क्योंकि सवाल पूछा जाएगा 200 वर्ड में आंसर करना होगा, बहुत से ज़्यादा 500 वर्ड में, है ना, नंबर उसी पे मिलेगा। यही दे दीजिए तो आगे फोटो कॉपी करा लेंगे, टेक्नोलॉजी अवेलेबल है। वो क्या रहा जो मैं पावर पॉइंट में डाले हुए, चाहे मेरा है चाहे किसी का नहीं पता है, that is what you receive. And also sometimes you can also learn the way your teacher is. दोनों काम। जो सवाल है शायद ये है, पहले वाले को तो छोड़िए, आई एम नॉट कंसर्न्ड विद दिस। वो क्या करता है, पावर पॉइंट मांगता है, कैसे पढ़ता है, दैट्स अ डिफरेंट स्टोरी। बट व्हेन वी कम टू द सेकंड वन, देन द क्वेश्चन इज, कैन वी चेंज द टीचर्स? कैन वी चेंज द टीचर्स? ये सारी इनोवेटिव प्रैक्टिस किसके लिए है? Is it for a student or for a teacher? I don't have to answer. In early 2000, some 10 years ago, I guess, I was involved with secondary education, with the NCRT, you know this one, National Council of Educational Research and Training. And they were reviewing research on education. They brought out the 5th survey of educational research and innovations. That is the name of the one. Research and innovations in education. Are we? Can you just change the next one? 5th survey. Now, if you look at this whole survey, then there are 4 different points that are emphasized. First thing is that in the entire process of education, it is the teacher who is in center. Okay? So the education is revolving around the teacher. We will discuss it later on whether it does here also or it doesn't do that, but probably it does. Second important thing which I think is very, very important from a psychological point of view, that it is not the motivation of the students. Let me again repeat it. It is not the motivation of the students, but the motivation of the teacher that works as the strongest predictor of the students' performance or achievement. Okay? So how motivated a teacher is going to determine, okay, what his students or her students are going to achieve, the level at which they are going to perform. Okay. So here also you see that the teacher is again in the center, not the student. Then a third important finding, many studies from this country, they are substantiating that if a teacher is involved in the students, in his or her students, personal involvement, you are peeping every day into your student. Even you wouldn't mind peeping into his bag, even into your lunch box. So तभी इन्वॉल्वमेंट हुआ। पूरा जाने कि आप क्या खाते हो, कौन सी किताब लेके आते हो, तब तो होगा। If that happens, okay, then it can have magical influence on their lives. I don't know. अचीवमेंट तो बढ़ेगा ही, लेकिन जिंदगी सुधर जाएगी। ऐसे लोगों की जिनकी लाइफ में टीचर इस तरह से पर्सनली इन्वॉल्व रहा है। This is the third important finding coming out of that survey. And last point that is again very important, ये थोड़ा प्रोफेशनल के लिए गड़बड़ है, लेकिन हमारे जैसे जो एकेडमिक इंस्टीट्यूशन में टीचर्स हैं, फॉर देम दिस इज अगेन वेरी वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट, that your relationship with your students have to be at the personal level. प्रोफेशनल नहीं है कि आपने पैसा दिया है और फीस दिया है और हमको सैलरी मिलती है इसलिए आप पढ़ने के हकदार, पढ़ाने के हकदार, बस। और हमारा आपका रिश्ता इतना तक है कि पैसा मिलता है क्लास में पढ़ाने का, इसके आगे हमारा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्यों सर में इसके आगे हमारा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नहीं मेरे घर आओ परेशान हो या मैं तुम्हें किताब तो या बनाना पड़ता हूँ। If that happens, तो ये प्रोफेशनल हो गया, लेकिन अगर सब कुछ आपको पूरा अधिकार आधी रात को आकर के तुम उनको तंग कर सकते हो, then it becomes personal. So this personalized relationship with the students, if that is there, then it opens the channel of communication between the student and the teacher. अभी जिस टीचर की बात आप कर रहे थे, किससे आप ये करते हैं? जैसे आप डरते हैं, बच्चा माँ के सामने जे लगता है, कुछ नहीं पता उसको, इनोसेंट होता है, लेकिन उसकी बेवकूफी माँ को इतना मजा आता है कि आप सोच नहीं सकते। तो आपका जब बेवकूफ स्टूडेंट आता है, इतना मजा आता है उसके सामने कि आप सोच नहीं सकते, उसकी कल्पना नहीं कर सकते। वेरी वेरी जॉयफुल। तो ये झिझक कब खुलेगी? अभी आपने कहा अंग्रेजी नहीं बोल पाते हैं, मेरा दावा है कि सब अंग्रेजी समझते हैं। क्लासरूम में मैंने पूछा, सब बोलते हैं तो तुम्हें समझ में आता है कि सर समझ में आता है, फिर बोलने में क्या दिक्कत है? संकोच लगता है, डरते हैं कि गलत न बोल, ठीक है, गलत बोल जाएंगे बेइज्जती हो जाएगी, इसलिए उसी को दूर करने की बात। तो जब ये पर्सनलाइज्ड रिलेशनशिप हो जाती है, तब ये जो है चीजें बदल जाती हैं। Okay. Now look at these 4 different points. और उसके बाद फिर आप अपने को देखने की कोशिश करें कि एज ए टीचर हम अपने को इस पे कहाँ प्लेस कर सकते हैं, कितना मोटिवेशन हमारा है, कितना इन्वॉल्वमेंट हमारा स्टूडेंट में है, कितनी हमारी पर्सनलाइज्ड रिलेशनशिप स्टूडेंट्स के साथ है, और कितने हम अपने स्टूडेंट की लाइफ के सेंटर में हैं। The degree to which you can ensure your motivation, involvement, and so on, I think you can also ensure the success of your students. Okay? Not only in profession, but also in this life in general. आइए थोड़ा इफेक्टिवनेस की बात करते हैं। फिलॉसफी में एक बात कही गई है कि आप जो कुछ करते हैं उसका कुछ न कुछ प्रभाव पड़ता है, दूसरे पर भी पड़ता है और आप पर भी पड़ता है ना? उसको कर्म कहा गया। कर्म प्रधान विश्व करी राखा, जो जैसे करे सो तस फल चाखा। So whatever you do, it generates some effect. हम इस गिलास को उठा के पटकेंगे, ये आवाज हुई ना, इफेक्ट जनरेट हुआ कि नहीं हुआ? कुछ तो हुआ। तो अगर आप देखें तो every human activity generates some kind of effect. इसलिए अगर किसी भी स्कूल में कुछ भी पढ़ाया जा रहा है तो है ना, it will generate some effect. ये नहीं करेगी, जरूर करेगी, कुछ करेगी, इफेक्ट तो पैदा करेगी। और अगर इस फिलोसॉफिकल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से और आगे आप सोचना शुरू करें, तब आप कहेंगे तब तो फिर भाई माना जा सकता है कि एवरीथिंग इज गोइंग टू बी इफेक्टिव। इफेक्टिव का मतलब तो यही है ना कि जो इफेक्ट पैदा करे। सो जो कुछ हो रहा है, डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ इफेक्ट्स पैदा हो रहे हैं, मगर इफेक्टिव तो नहीं रहा है। somebody is getting affected. ओके, तो क्या यही मतलब है? हाँ, कुछ हम टीचिंग टेक्नोलॉजी थोड़ा बढ़ा देंगे तो इफेक्ट बड़ा हो जाएगा। हम बोल रहे इफेक्ट पैदा होगा, लेकिन हम माइक लगा दें आवाज तेज हो जाएगी, जोर से सुनाई पड़ेगी, है ना? They can augment these effectiveness. ये फिलॉसफी की बात है, लेकिन आप उसमें मत जाएं, नहीं तो सब गड़बड़ हो जाएगा। लेकिन हाँ, अगर इस फिलॉसफी के नोशन से हम चलें तो अगले पे जरा चले जाएं। नेक्स्ट वाले तो आप ये सवाल उठाने लगेंगे कि फिर इस तरह के सिंपोजियम करने की जरूरत क्या है? If there is some effect going on, okay, there is some effectiveness, then what is the need for organizing this kind of symposium? Okay. आप अगला भी सवाल कर सकते हैं, why are we concerned about pedagogical innovations? इफेक्टिव तो वही है। तीसरा सवाल भी आगे उठा सकते हैं कि अगर एक प्रश्न आपके यहाँ पहुंच रहा है तो खाली प्रोफेशनल एजुकेशन के लिए क्यों है? ओके, मैनेजमेंट स्टडीज में ही क्यों इनोवेशन? क्यों नहीं प्राइमरी स्कूल से लेकर के और जो स्कूल है उसमें इनोवेशन? वो भी आपका कंसर्न होगा, क्योंकि एजुकेशनल मैनेजमेंट इज गोइंग टू बी बिग थीम इन दिस कंट्री, बहुत जल्दी अभी भी हो रहा है। तो हो सकता है कि बिजनेस सेक्टर में आपको एम्प्लॉयमेंट कम मिले, लेकिन एजुकेशन के सेक्टर में एम्प्लॉयमेंट ज्यादा मिले। आई सी ए क्लियर पॉसिबिलिटी। क्या आपको लगता है कि जो हमारी करंट पेडागोजिकल प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, दे आर इनएडिक्वेट एंड दे आर इनइफेक्टिव? ओके, ये बड़े सारे सवाल उस फिलॉसफी से निकल करके आ रहे हैं जिसमें ये माना जाता है कि whatever you do generates some kind of effect and therefore it is effective. But if I ask you, I think all of you will say no, and I also go with you. Okay? ये सब नहीं है, जो हर चीज है वो इफेक्टिव नहीं है। Okay? इफेक्टिव क्यों नहीं है? वो इसलिए नहीं है कि इफेक्टिव की हमारी जो डेफिनेशन है वो नहीं है जो फिलॉसफी में है। We have a very different kind of definition, very different concept of effectiveness. Concept के बड़े अर्थ होते हैं, जब आगे आते हैं, okay? It means so many different things to different people. So therefore, our concept of effectiveness is not the same as the philosophical concept, okay, that we were talking about. उस पर भी आना है। हमारा कंसर्न जो इस सिम्पोजियम में है, जिसकी वजह से आप सब आए, जिसकी वजह से हम लोग यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं, ओके, और एक पर्टिकुलर सेटिंग में जो इफेक्टिवनेस है उसको बढ़ाने का है। मैं नहीं मानता हूँ कि आप इफेक्टिव नहीं है। All of you are teaching, many of you are teaching for so many years. आप बहुत एक्सपीरियंस है, आप रोज इनोवेशन करते हैं क्लासरूम में। मैं मान ही नहीं सकता हूँ कि आप पैसिव एक्टिविटी की तरह क्लासरूम में जाते हैं। ओके, डिफिकल्ट हो रही है, इसलिए कि आप जाएंगे तो आप स्टूडेंट्स आपको रहने नहीं देंगे, वहाँ पे बढ़ा लेंगे, एंड देयर इज अ सिस्टम जो आपको एक डेमो दे देगा। ऐसा नहीं है, आप इफेक्टिव हैं, ठीक है, जो आप कर रहे हैं बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हैं, उस पर कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं, ठीक है। लेकिन सवाल ये होता है कि जो कर रहे हैं, जहाँ हम हैं, इससे हम आगे को जा सकते हैं क्या? इसको हम इफेक्टिव बना सकते हैं क्या? मोर इफेक्टिव। तो शायद यही है जिसकी वजह से हम इस थीम को डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, और उसका यही कारण है कि हम इफेक्टिवनेस को एक दूसरे तरीके से डिफाइन भी करते हैं। और कंसर्न ये है कि हमारी जो डेफिनेशन इफेक्टिवनेस की है, जो हमारी समझ है, उसके अनुसार व्हाटएवर इज द लेवल ऑफ इफेक्टिवनेस वी वांट टू क्या है इफेक्टिवनेस? साइकोलॉजी में बड़ी परिभाषा खास करके ओबी के बिहेवियर में दी गई है। वहाँ दो ही कंसर्न होता है, एफिशिएंसी एंड इफेक्टिवनेस। पूरी ओबी में दो ही कंसर्न है, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की इफिशिएंसी और ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का इम्पैक्ट, जिसको इफेक्टिवनेस कहते हैं। बस दो है, ये आप पूरा कर सके तो फर्स्ट क्लास। क्यों सर? ये दोनों यहाँ होता रहे, ये समझ में तो प्रॉब्लम क्या है? चार बातें इफेक्टिवनेस के बारे में कही गए हैं, एंड लेट अस ट्राई टू थिंक वेयर वी स्टैंड इन टर्म्स ऑफ दोस फोर मीनिंग्स। We define effectiveness, okay, when there is achievement of specified goals. You set certain goals, okay, you try to achieve those goals, and when you are able to successfully achieve those goals, then you say that you are effective. ठीक है क्या नहीं? ये एक definition है. Second concern is, it's not only the goal, it's also consequences. We want to produce certain consequences. हमारे स्टूडेंट्स में सब ने 90% पास कर लिया, हमारा यही सोचना था कि कोई 80% के नीचे नहीं और रोल मिल गया। But we are also concerned about its consequences, ताकि अगले सेशन में हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट के लिए और अच्छे स्टूडेंट्स अप्लाई करें। We can draw better students and cover a larger area. This is called a consequence. So you want to end up with desired consequences. If that happens, then you are effective. Okay? It's not only present, but it's also a kind of future-oriented activity. Then there are lot many expectations. जो अभी इस साल के लिए नहीं, अगले साल के लिए नहीं, projected है 2, 4, 5 साल के लिए. Okay? And when you see your present achievements, you feel satisfied, and when you see that you are moving towards something that you were expecting to achieve in future, you also feel satisfied. बिल्कुल ठीक है, पाथ एकदम सही है जिस पे जा रहे हो. Okay? If that happens, then we call that things are effective. And lastly, जिसको कहते हैं कि ये सब किसके लिए हो रहा है? बहुत बढ़िया बिजनेस हो जाएगा, बहुत बढ़िया ऑर्गेनाइजेशन चल जाएगा, टॉप रैंक के मैनेजर आप हो जाएंगे, क्या होगा? देयर आर नीड्स ऑफ द पीपल. सोसाइटी आपसे बहुत कुछ आशा रखती है. हमारे गांव का बच्चा है, बहुत बड़ा मैनेजर हो गया है, बहुत विद्वान हो गया है, उसकी एक्सपेक्टेशंस आपसे. ओके, सो व्हेन यू आर फुलफिलिंग द नीड्स ऑफ पीपल सक्सेसफुली, तब कहा जाएगा इफेक्टिव. तो इफेक्टिवनेस के डिफरेंट लेवल्स हैं. ओके, आप देखेंगे कि कुछ पर्सनल हैं, कुछ सोशल हैं, और इसके आगे भी अभी बढ़ेंगे, उसकी हम चर्चा नहीं करेंगे कि कुछ पर आप बड़ा भारी सेमिनार कर चुके हैं, जिसको स्पिरिचुअल लेवल कहते हैं. सब कुछ नष्ट करके अगर आप जिंदगी जिए तो क्या क्या इफेक्टिव हुआ? तो पानी पीने को रह जाएगा. इस देश में हमारी इफेक्टिवनेस यही है कि पीने का पानी नहीं रह गया. रेलवे स्टेशन पर हमारी हिम्मत नहीं कि नल के में से पानी लेकर हम पी लें, बोतल खरीदना जरूरी हो गया है. सड़क पर मास्क लगा के चलना जरूरी हो गया. तो अगर आप और आगे इसको डिफाइन करेंगे तो आप वहाँ पहुँचेंगे जहाँ पर आदमी की जिंदगी की बात होती है कि क्या हम सांस ले सकेंगे इससे, है ना? नहीं तो दिखाई तो पड़ रहा है, लेकिन बाद में तो सब बर्बाद हो गया, तो उसकी चर्चा नहीं कर सकते. सो द कंसर्न इज अबाउट एनहांसिंग इफेक्टिवनेस, एंड देयरफॉर वी मस्ट अंडरस्टैंड इफेक्टिवनेस. ओके, और ये सारा जो डिस्कशन है पेडागॉजिकल इनोवेशन का, ये केवल इसीलिए है ताकि हम आपको और इफेक्टिव बना सकें. जहाँ आप हैं वहाँ से आपको आगे ले जा सकें, आप बेहतर अचीव कर सकें अपने लिए, सोसाइटी के लिए, नेशन के लिए, और अगर मन करे तो इस समूचे ब्रह्मांड के लिए. जिन प्राणियों को हम नहीं देख रहे हैं उनके लिए. आप देखें गौरैया मरी जा रही हैं, स्पैरो जानते हैं, इतना अच्छा लगता था, दे आर डाइंग, क्यों मर रही हैं? इसलिए कि जितने हम सब्जियां उगा रहे हैं सब में इंसेक्टिसाइड डाल रहे हैं, उस पर जो कीड़े खाती थी वो कीड़ों को जहर मिल गया है, खाती पड़ जाती है। इस कॉस्मास में पता नहीं, तो मैं उनकी ही बात कर सकता हूँ, ओके। लेकिन चलिए वहाँ हम नहीं जाते, हम व्यवहार जगत नहीं रहते हैं जहाँ पर हम लोग फंक्शन करते उतना ही सोचते हैं। Now, if you look at effectiveness in psychological terms, then I would call it a kind of change. ठीक है, आज जहाँ आप हैं वहाँ से हट करके अगर आप आगे बढ़ गए, I would say that there is a change, and therefore I define effectiveness as a kind of change. Okay. Pedagogical innovation इसलिए कि हम we want to bring about some change in students and learners through teaching. जो भी हमारी टीचिंग की टेक्नोलॉजी या मेथड है उसको यूज करते हुए कुछ और नया अगर बन सके तो उसको यूज करते हुए we want to bring about a change in the learner or the student. Okay? तो जो कुछ उसके भीतर हो रहा है, ज्ञान हो रहा है, उसको जो कुछ नहीं मालूम हो, इंटेलिजेंस बढ़ रहा है कि ज्ञान बढ़ रहा है, मैं उसकी चर्चा नहीं करूँगा। वो सब हाईली कंट्रोवर्शियल कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं। वो डेवलप कर रहा है कि पीछे जा रहा है, वो भी कंट्रोवर्सी है। लेकिन एक चीज जो कंट्रोवर्सी में नहीं है वो है कि चेंज हो रहा है, ये चेंज टुवर्ड्स गुड और बैड, आई डोंट नो। ओके, और जैसे जैसे आपको उस लर्नर में चेंज के एविडेंस मिलते जाते हैं, आपका जो स्टूडेंट है उसमें चेंज के एविडेंस मिलते जाते हैं। आनंद ने कहा कि लड़की खड़ी नहीं हो रही थी, रो रही थी, ठीक है, तीसरी बार खड़ी हुई, प्रेजेंट किया, चेंज हुआ भी नहीं हुआ, जैसे जैसे ये चेंज होता जाता है वैसे वैसे आप कहते हैं कि यू आर बिकमिंग इफेक्टिव। आपकी टीचिंग जो है दैट इज बिकमिंग effective because it is bringing about a progressive change in your skill. I am using progressive. आज आकर के रुक गया चेंज तो ये इफेक्टिव नहीं है। This should be progressive. इसको बढ़ते रहना चाहिए, इतना बढ़ना चाहिए कि आप आज पढ़ाना बंद कर दें। आज आप उसके टीचर नहीं हैं, लेकिन जब आपकी याद करें, ठीक है, तब उसको काम करने का मन नहीं, हमारे सर ऐसे करते थे, मुझे करना है, ये प्रोग्रेसिव लगातार चलता है। वो द्रोणाचार्य की तरह, उसकी तरह है द्रोणाचार्य। एकलव्य वाली कहानी पढ़ी थी, द्रोणाचार्य ने कहा तुमको धनुष बाण चलाना नहीं सिखाएंगे। बेचारा जंगल में गया, द्रोणाचार्य जी की मूर्ति बना ली, उसी के सामने विद्या का अभ्यास करता रहा, एंड ही बिकेम द ग्रेटेस्ट पर्सन। उसी का अंगूठा मांग लिया था दक्षिणा में द्रोणाचार्य। कहानी पड़ी हुई है आपने, नहीं तो अर्जुन उसको जीत नहीं सकते थे। वो होना चाहिए, गुरु मिट्टी का भी है, बैठा हुआ है, लेकिन आपको लगता है कि नहीं बस यही तो सब सिखा रहा है। दैट इज व्हाट आई कॉल इफेक्टिवनेस। पिताजी बैठे हैं, आप सिगरेट नहीं पी रहे हैं, उनके गायब होते आप पीने लगे, ये तो गड़बड़ बात है। Behavior should continue even in the absence of stimuli, and in the presence of it, it erodes. ये उसका मतलब है। तो दीपक गायब हो जाए फिर ये चीज होती रहे, तो ये जरूरी है। अब सवाल आगे, ये भी फिलोसॉफिकल सवाल है, मैं बहुत फिलोसॉफी में फंस जाता हूँ। हम अपने लर्नर में किस तरह का चेंज देखना चाहते हैं? What kind of change do we want to see in our learner? Change तो ठीक है, okay. इसमें भी आपकी फ्रीडम नहीं, ठीक है कि नहीं? जब इंस्टीट्यूट सेटअप हुआ होगा तो इसके कुछ एजुकेशनल गोल ऑलरेडी स्पेसिफाइड हैं। The director, the teachers and the students, all of them are trying to pursue and fulfill those goals. तो ये जो गोल्स होते हैं, जो आप चेंज जो ले आना चाहते हैं, उसमें आप स्वतंत्र नहीं है। आप अपने सिस्टम को देखते हैं, उसमें किस तरह के गोल्स की बात की गई वही में गोल लाएंगे। यहाँ बढ़िया क्रिकेटर पैदा करेंगे, चलो हमारे सब बच्चे माहिर हो गए क्रिकेट में, गोल पूरा हो जाएगा? नहीं होगा। ओके, सो गोल्स आर ऑलरेडी लेड डाउन, स्पेसिफाइड। एजुकेशनल गोल्स आर इंस्टीट्यूशन के अलग अलग हैं। तो अगर आप उन गोल्स की तरफ स्टूडेंट की प्रोग्रेस देख रहे हैं, देन यू विल से दैट यू आर इफेक्टिव। अगला सवाल आप पूछें कि ये जो चेंज ले आ रहे हैं क्यों ले आ रहे हैं? तो कौन सा चेंज लाएंगे? वह चेंज लाएंगे जो हमारे स्टूडेंट्स को उस गोल की तरफ ले जा सके। और क्यों ले आएंगे? क्या हो जाएगा? अंग्रेजी बोलने लगेगी तो उसके पीछे आपका एक आंसर लॉजिक है। लॉजिक है कि आप चाहे जो कुछ करेंगे, चेंज लाएंगे, तो इससे उस आदमी की जो क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ है, ये फिर बड़ा सब्जेक्टिव टर्म है, लेकिन इसकी एक मीनिंग है जो लोग मानते हैं दैट वी वांट टू ब्रिंग अबाउट ए चेंज इन द क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ ऑफ द पर्सन। तो उस लड़की के जीवन में क्या चेंज हो गया? तो बहुत ऑर्डिनरी फैमिली से आई हुई थी, आज एक बहुत बड़ी कंपनी में ट्रेन हो गई। इज देयर अ चेंज इन द क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ और नॉट? तो ये समूचे जो इफेक्टिवनेस के हमारे अभियान हैं, इससे हमारा जो मूवमेंट है और जिसके लिए हम पेडागोजिकल इनोवेशंस की बात कर रहे हैं, ये केवल इसलिए है ताकि हम कुछ ऐसे चेंज ले आ सकें जिससे हमारे स्टूडेंट्स की प्रेजेंट क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ में चेंज हो सके, इम्प्रूव कर सके। ओके, यही समूचा प्रयास हमारा है। आज जहाँ आप हैं, आप वहाँ से बेहतर हो सके। कैसे पता करेंगे कि आदमी इफेक्टिव हो गया? कुछ असेसमेंट होना चाहिए ना, जिसको हम लोग फीडबैक कहते हैं। हम रोज चाहते हैं देखें कि जो कुछ हमने कहा उसका क्या असर पड़ा, क्योंकि लेखा जोखा। ये भी एक बड़ा भारी इशू है, सारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस में है। एक तो यह है कि जो भी क्राइटेरिया हम इसका ले डाउन करते हैं वो हमारा पर्सनल नहीं। ओके, अगेन इट कम्स फ्रॉम द सोसाइटी। From every school there is some social expectation, some expectation from the society. क्यों है? इसलिए है कि सोसाइटी grants recognition not only to institutions but also to teachers. Okay? तो इंस्टीट्यूशन को भी रिकॉग्निशन देती है सोसाइटी और टीचर्स को भी सोसाइटी रिकॉग्निशन देती है। If you look at what the basis of those recognitions, कौन सा टीचर रिकॉग्नाइज है, कौन सा इंस्टीट्यूट रिकॉग्नाइज है, अखबार लोग देखिए, जेई के प्रिपरेशन के लिए पूरा अखबार भरा हुआ है। फलाना सर फिजिक्स पढ़ाते हैं, फलाना सर से केमिस्ट्री पढ़िए, फलाना सर से मैनेजमेंट के गुण सीखिए। ये भाई सर कहाँ से इतने बड़े बन गए? किसने उनको रिकॉग्निशन दिया? उनके दाम बढ़ गए हैं, कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूशंस की फीस बढ़ गई है, इसी तरह इंस्टीट्यूशंस की फीस बढ़ गई है। जिस लेवल का इंस्टीट्यूशन उस लेवल की उसकी फीस है, इसको आप मना नहीं कर सकते, डिनाई नहीं कर सकते हैं। एकेडमिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस में हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी का भी आपने पढ़ा होगा, एक नीलसन सर्वे आया है 50 टॉप यूनिवर्सिटीज का इंडिया में। किसी जमाने में BHU was on the top when Professor DP Singh was the vice chancellor, पहले नंबर पर थे। विश्वविद्यालय में जाने कितने पोस्टर अभी भी टंगे। 2 साल के बाद फिर सर्वे आया तो 3 नंबर पे चली गई, नहीं 2 नंबर पे चली गई, सॉरी, एक पायदान नीचे सरक गई। इस बार सर्वे आया तो 3रे नंबर पर चली गई। ओके, और अगर आप उसका देखें कि व्हाट आर द क्राइटेरिया फॉर द इवैल्यूएशन ऑफ दीज यूनिवर्सिटीज, क्यों उसको टॉप पर, क्यों उसको नंबर 2 पर, क्यों उसको नंबर 3 पर, तो बहुत सारे क्राइटेरिया दिए हुए। यू कैन लुक एट इंडिया टुडे लेकिन अगर उनको समराइज किया जाए तो बहुत आसान है। आप देखेंगे कि 4 चीजें बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट हैं। एक तो फिजिकल फैसिलिटीज, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ फिजिकल फैसिलिटीज आर अवेलेबल देयर, हाउ मच रिसर्च ग्रांट्स आर अवेलेबल विद द यूनिवर्सिटी, कितने बड़े बड़े प्रोजेक्ट सबमिट किए गए हैं, कितना पैसा आया है, what kind of fellowships have been granted to teachers of this university, how many teachers have gone abroad on prestigious fellowships, and how many good publications, good citations. Academic institutions with these are the criteria, and if any institution has been able to fulfill it, of course with the help of teachers, वही सब करते हैं, institution थोड़े कुछ करेगा, बिल्डिंग नहीं करने वाली, teachers करते हैं. Then you say that, okay, this institution is effective, very very effective. ये काम दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी ने किया, प्रोफेसर आनंद प्रकाश जी अभी थे दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी से, टॉप रैंक पे हैं। ये काम BHU ने किया अच्छे से, नंबर 2 पे चले गए। BHU ने पिछले सालों में अच्छा नहीं किया, नंबर 3 पे चले गए, सर गए। If you look at the same criteria for professional institutions, तो आप पाएंगे कि उसके 3 क्राइटेरिया यही सब पूछते हैं। प्लेसमेंट कितना होता है, कौन कौन कंपनी आपके यहाँ आती है, जॉब इज नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट, दिस कंपनी, और पैकेजेस क्या देती है। बहुत सारे बीटेक के हमारे डिपार्टमेंट में बड़े सारे हमारी हाथ के बच्चे जाते हैं, पता चला 1 लाख रुपए एनुअल में उनकी 96,000 में चला गया। आपने कहा भाई क्यों जा रहे हो, बोला सर कुछ समथिंग इज बेटर देन नथिंग, दिल्ली में रहेंगे, खाने भर का मिलेगा, ठीक है, तो ये सब बेकार होगा, इफेक्टिव नहीं होगा। So you will see that if you are in the academic institution, there is one kind of criteria for evaluation of your doing well, of your effectiveness, but if you are in a professional institution, there are other set of criteria for your effectiveness. कुछ ऐसे इंस्टीट्यूशन है जो दोनों को कंबाइन करते हैं। आजकल के जमाने में बहुत मुश्किल है कि आप एक रहे हैं। So you will find professional institutions who are very good at research also, in publication also. IIM का नाम क्यों लेते हैं? इसलिए नहीं, अभी आनंद जी ने कहा कि वहाँ बड़े अच्छे टीचर, जैसे बस अच्छे टीचर नहीं वहाँ पे। हमारे भी एक विद्यार्थी पढ़ाते हैं तो कभी सोचते नहीं कि IIM में जाएंगे।